What is up, guys? I'm so glad you guys are back. I'm just gonna be mining and exploring this cave. Hopefully, find an ancient city, but you guys won't believe what happened at work. Someone jumped from one scissor lift to another scissor lift while they were both in the air. Because of this guy, we had to have an emergency safety meeting. So yeah, it's been a pretty long day, but I'm glad I'm able to chill with you guys, play some Minecraft, and I've been reading this Reddit stories, and I think they're pretty wild. So let's get right into it. And once again, thanks for joining. Okay, first story. Would I be in the wrong if I fire a kid because his mother is harassing me? I, late 20s, won a department in a startup and hired a few student workers, around 17 to 21, to conduct classes. He's not great, he shows up late, he doesn't prepare, but when addressed, he started to improve a lot. So not as good as the others, but he gets the job done. His mom, however, she knows me through a mutual friend and she has constantly been emailing me, asking why she doesn't have access to the okay. Creeper's just gonna blow up right there. Asking why she doesn't have access to the internal systems of the company so she can check on his work. Why would his mom want to check at his work at work? It's not school or anything. Sending me voice notes of her screaming at him after he forgets about meetings, sending me messages to excuse him from these classes he's supposed to conduct last minute because she didn't finish up her rounds, or even when he just forgot. The last incident was when he showed up 25 minutes late, didn't even notify us, and proceeded to bill for more time than he was there for. I wrote on his timesheet that he was overbilling and that he needs to inform us if he hasn't or wasn't going to make it on time. A voice note followed, or I can't imagine. It's probably the mom screaming. Yep, screaming. Mommy dearest saw the note I made, screaming at him, and I just can't anymore. I feel like a complete butthole firing him over his mother, and I know his behavior justifies him being fired, but he's been working really hard on improving, and I can see the difference. I've spoken to both of them to cool it down with her behavior. I've blocked the mom. She contacts me through his account, so she had access to our system anyway, which is already an issue. If that's the case, why does she even want her own access? Luckily, I'm assured he has no access to any system with info on the minors taking the courses. This could have opened a whole can of worms. We hired the students because the model is focused on students teaching students. We have kids that go through the program and can lead full classes at the age of 15. It's made for low cost communities so kids can be taught how to be leaders. Okay, another creeper. Bro, are they just following me? Creep magnets? I love my job. It has changed so many lives and gotten teens to bloom. We have a handful of paid instructors. Alright, you think if I just ignore him, he'll leave me alone? Alright, I'll stop getting distracted though. Let's finish the story real quick. We have a handful of paid instructors for when the interns can't make it. Legally, I'm good to go, thus making this a real problem. HR is fully supportive of my decision as well as the higher ups. They are actually encouraging it, but gave me the final call. Okay, well, initially from the beginning, I would have fired the kid, but you did say he was improving. But as soon as you mentioned how his mother started harassing you, I think that's a no go. But let's see if there's any update and see what he did. This is 1 month later. Okay, so I know it didn't get that much traction. Oh, this spider's not gonna get the best of me. Easy. But here we go. I took that advice and consulted with HR on this as well. So, sad update, he got fired. We took the time and HR spoke to him about his conduct and performance. He admitted to slacking and promised to keep his mom under control. She quickly deleted all the messages on Facebook she sent me to remove a trace thereof, but the emails remained. He promised to keep everything up to standard and work as hard as possible. The focus on his quality of work, his mother was mentioned, but just as an afterthought of appropriate work contact. He then proceeded to. Oh, what was that? There's a zombie around. But where? He then proceeded to amaze us for a total of 5 days before going back to his old habits again and being completely useless and even aggressive towards other team members, making slight mistakes. He even charged 4 times the amount of time for a quarter of the quality of work the other team members produce. So his 2 weeks probation ended after 9 days. Damn, he was almost there. He needed what, 5 more days? Yep. I hope his mother never does this again, but all in all, his work ethic is what got him fired in the end. Yeah, at that point, the mom made it worse, but he was just a bad worker at the end of the day. And it's what the comments are saying. This is one of the easier yes, you should fire him cases. Another one by Illustrious Gas 9766. A friend of mine is the head of HR person for a tech firm. He has parents that call him to talk about their kids that are intern. That what? Do people do that? Oh, nice. So much XP waiting to be XP'd. His standard line is, I cannot legally talk to you about a adult employee of this company. I would tell you that if you call again, the employee would be informed that they will not be getting a full-time position due to your interference. He rarely gets another call from that parent. Okay. More of the story. Don't let your parents call where you work, which I thought was pretty obvious, but that was a pretty nice story. Let's move on to the next one. While I keep mining all this XP. Hopefully we get to level 69 soon. And now we're gonna move on to our next story by Bing Bong 1234. I've been waiting a long time to tell Reddit the full story of the Whistler. This story requires many details, but it is unexplainable, creepy, and 100% true. I also have video evidence. Oh, I cannot wait for that. I'll be showing it in the middle of the video, so stay tuned for that. When I was about 8 years old, I was taking my dog for a walk through the neighborhood with my mom. It was maybe 11 p.m. We lived next to a swamp slash woods area on the edge of our neighborhood in Lansing, Michigan. I remember it being very silent and slightly windy. From down in the swamp, we heard somebody whistling at us. It sounded sort of like a bird, but each whistle was different enough where the lack of consistency made it human-like. The whistle sounded higher, then lower. I can't really describe it. My mom had a concerned, slightly terrified look on her face and grabbed my hand and said that we should go inside quickly. I didn't understand because I was too young, but seeing my mom freak out made me freak out too. After a while though, I kind of forgot about it. 2 years later, I was taking my dog out again, late at night. There's a large bush that could easily obscure a person behind it, just next to the front door. As I finished walking the dog, the whistling noise started again. Same pitches, same inconsistent, human-like tones. As soon as I heard it, a chill went down my spine, as I remembered exactly the feeling of seeing my mom, terrified, looking down into the swamp at something I couldn't see. Maybe she couldn't see either. I ran inside as fast as possible. Years went by and I thought about it less and less. I told only a handful of people and eventually it slipped from my mind. Oh, he's getting good. Fast forward to last summer, I'm 24. Started dating my girl Sarah. We moved out to South Dakota for work. For Independence Day, we decided to go to Pierre San Diego, or South Dakota, and watch the fireworks along the bank of the Missouri River. There was a free camping spot behind a hospital where you could pitch your tents, hang out, and see the fireworks up the river. We were near the end of the campground, and there were very few people around us. As it was getting dark, the fireworks began. They were pretty far away, so the illumination they brought was very little. Thus, we had to sit right at the edge of the river to be able to see them. A huge thunderhead was moving in, and a storm was imminent, so the air seemed electric and the wind was picking up. The atmosphere was eerie to say the least. Do not tell me he's gonna show up. What was that noise? I think the story's just scaring me at this point. Okay, let's keep going. The police boats hurled all the other boats off the river and had left our area to do that elsewhere. Most of the other campers walked up the river to have a better view of the fireworks, but Sarah and I stayed back and were drinking tall boys and kicking it. Suddenly, we heard the sound of a paddle dipping into the water. We saw a figure steering canoe about 20 meters offshore. Sarah decided to go get more beers from the car, leaving me alone to stare at this mystery person. And then, of course, they whistled at me. My entire body was frozen and covered in goosebumps. It was the exact same whistler from my childhood, more than a decade earlier. I looked at the figure, but it was much too dark to discern who it could be. They were wearing a hat, and they were perpendicular to the shore from me. They stopped paddling, turned the canoe to face directly at me, and whistled right at me. I was so frightened I stood up and shouted at them, "Who are you?" They didn't say anything, just whistled a couple more times, turned the canoe 180 degrees, and paddled out of sight. Bro, this has to be someone he knows. Or, yeah, it's probably the best prank of all time. Or, it's genuinely a psychopath, a stalker. I'm a videographer, so I already had my camera by my side and was taking a video of the fireworks. As the canoe was almost out of sight, I grabbed my camera and got a shot of them whistling as they went away. When Sarah came back from getting beers, she was very confused as to why I was so freaked out. When I explained, she freaked out a bit too. I was convinced we would both be murdered that night. How did this whistling person, follow me after 14 years, all the way to South Dakota? Was it a coincidence? Or was it the same whistling noise? Who was that person, and where did they go? So many questions still unanswered. To this day, I'm more afraid of being outside in the dark where I might hear that whistling again. Yeah, it might have been Sarah, or Sarah's working with the whistler. It has to be that. But yeah, I can't wait to show you guys the video. But right, real quick. Yeah, let's get that set up. Here's the video, guys.
You whistling? Is it you? Stop it.
Damn, you guys can see that was a lot more horrifying than I thought. Imagine just chilling with your significant other, all of a sudden hear the one noise that gives you PTSD. But it seemed like he thought it was his girlfriend for a second, but she said no, and it wasn't her. But let's keep on reading. When I was still getting shots of the fireworks, I heard the whistling starting. I was too afraid at that moment to point the camera directly at the canoe, so I just turned my microphone towards it and kept a low-key shot, facing downriver towards the fireworks. If you wear headphones, you can hear it better. It's the two-note whistle, high then low. You can hear me ask my GF, "Are you whistling? Is that you?" She said no, but I wasn't sure, so I told her to stop it, because I was getting scared. The last shot, I boosted the brightness as much as I could, and still make out the person in the and still cannot make out the person in the canoe. It looks like they're wearing a red sweater or something. Whoa. Okay, so either he's living in a simulation where someone's trying to tell him something, or he has a stalker who's been stalking him. But I don't know how you wouldn't know for maybe 4 years. I would be afraid to just go outside on my own. No more 7-Eleven, no more 24 hours Walmart runs. That's it. I'm not going outside again. Let's see, read some of the comments. I love the idea that you had a psychotic breakdown at some dude just chilling and canoeing down the river at night, whistling happily to himself. Yeah, that would be funny. Imagine you're just chilling and all of a sudden some guy starts screaming at you. Let's see. Oh, okay, another comment. Dude, read this, please. I poop you not. In my country, Venezuela, there is a legend about a guy called El Silbón, the Whistler, a sort of damn soul that warns people of their coming death. I'm not making this up. I'll try to translate parts from the article for you to see if they fit what you experience. Oh, okay. Hey, that creeper had no chance. Damn. Okay, let's get into this small rabbit hole real quick. The legend is that of a young man who killed his father as a revenge because he had killed his wife and called her a something. After this event, his grandfather had him tied to a pole in the middle of a field and whipped him, had his wounds cleaned with drinking alcohol, and released him with two rabid and hungry dogs. But before release, he cursed him to carry his father's bones for the rest of eternity. He has a particular whistling similar to music notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, in that order, going up to F and then going low to B. It's said that when the whistling is heard closely, there's no danger, because he's really far. But when the whistling sounds far, he's really close. It's also said that the whistling announces the death of those who hear it. He can be anywhere at any time. It seems that the only thing that can save the person that hears it from afar is the bark of a dog, because he is afraid of it. Also of chili peppers and whips. The sounds, the soul takes revenge on womanizing men. Oh, okay, now I'm terrified to read the rest of this, but I'm too far in. Okay. Many inhabitants of Los Llanos speak of seeing him, particularly during summer, season in which the Venezuelan savanna sears under the strength of drought, and El Ciblon sits in the stump of trees and gathers dust with his hands. But he is primarily encountered in times of humidity and rain, when the spectre roams hungry for death and avid to punish the drunk, the whoremongers, and from time to time an innocent victim. It's said that he sucks on the navel of drunk men when he finds them alone to drink the alcohol that they drank. Oh, and he rips apart the warmongers. He takes off the bones and puts them inside the bag in which he carries his dad's remains. And it just keeps going. If you guys want to read more about it, I'll put the link in the description. But yeah, it's probably this guy, honestly, dude. That means he might not make it. Oh, but this was quite old. This was like about 10 years ago this happened. Hopefully he's still with us though. But let's move on to our next story. And this one's gonna go in a little bit of a different direction. You won't believe what happens at the end. So, my coworker keeps hijacking team meetings. I am a department head at a small financial firm. Recently, I began hosting weekly meetings for a 25-person business team, which is comprised of all the department heads and their teams. For the first couple of weeks, things were going relatively smoothly, but recently, one department head has been hijacking every meeting. He shows up late, he stands during the meeting instead of sitting, which isn't really a problem other than the fact that it's distracting and odd, and he interrupts people's presentation to interject his own thoughts, opinions, and agenda. One of his team members was presenting last week, and he butted in and droned on for several minutes. These are only supposed to be 5-minute presentations and are an opportunity for all of our team members to be heard, not just the outspoken department heads. Damn, why is he? I think he's just trying to impress everyone, but I think he's trying a little too hard, and he's doing it in the wrong way as well. Just do it whenever you're trying to speak, you know. Plus, you're a department head; you can make these changes, not at the meeting. I can see people slumping in their chairs and disengaging every time he pipes up. The real irony here is that when it was his turn to present, he didn't even remember that he had signed up for that day, so he showed up unprepared, bro. This is so much XP though. On the bright side, he said that he could just wing it, and I had to explain to him in front of everyone that I was going to reschedule him so that he could have some time to prepare. He's disrespectful at every turn. To top things off, this week at the end of the meeting, while I was dismissing everyone and thanking them for their time and attention, he interrupted me mid-sentence and stopped everyone from leaving to make an announcement. That's probably something dumb. Oh, okay, this is gonna take me a long time to collect, but it'll be worth it. But let's keep on going. The announcement was only directed towards his team of 4 and wasn't even relevant to the mass majority of people in the room. He is my peer. Damn, he's not even gonna show. She's not even gonna tell us what the announcement was. He is my peer, not my subordinate. How do I address this with him? Do I speak with him privately or just shut it down mid-meeting? I don't want there to be tension that will make everyone in the meeting uncomfortable, but he's being too disruptive to ignore. These meetings are supposed to be fun and energizing, and he is sucking the life out of them. Help! Yeah, it seems like it's gonna be a pain going to this meeting. Someone has to say something, or I think I would probably just ask him what the meeting should be for, and if he wants to have his own meetings, definitely can. Update. This is 9 months later. Oh, alright. Good thing we have an iron one. Okay, so this is 9 months later. I took a few different approaches to reining in the boorish and disruptive behavior that was plaguing our team meetings. At our next meeting, I took your advice and reviewed meeting expectations for everyone. Hey, that's good. These meetings were new to all of us, so I took a pause to get some feedback on how people felt they were going and reframed the goals of having every team member present. Mainly, we want to get a chance to hear from everyone and not just the managers. Presentations went on without incident for at least that day. Oh, okay. I bet next day he's ready. I made it a habit of framing every portion of the meeting. For example, now we are going to do the hokey pokey. We'll go around the room one at a time and everyone has 15 seconds to put their right foot in, starting with Fergus. Even though this is something we do every week, I found it helpful to set those expectations each time. It seems to keep everyone focused, and it only takes a moment. As the week went on, I did have to interrupt our squeaky wheel a few times when he was talking out of turn or taking up more hokey pokey time than allotted to him. I was always very matter of fact about it. Sorry, squeaky wheel. I had to stop you there. Thank you for sharing, but we are running behind schedule. and I want to make sure we get everything covered. Every time it happened, he would bristle a little and look around the room as if it was, is she serious? But he did quiet down, even though he did not seem to be taking the hint. So this guy is clueless. Everything was going smoothly until a brainstorming meeting where everyone was tossing ideas for a new project. Squeaky Will clearly had no idea what was going on. He was late and unprepared again, and basically stopped the meeting to ask me to re explain everything that we were doing. I told him that we were brainstorming ideas for Project X and that we could catch up after the meeting to go into more detail because we had already started and I wanted to be sensitive of everyone's time. He started grumbling a bit, and another team member piped up and said, maybe if you were on time to a meeting, you would know what was going on for once. Damn, in front of everyone. It was awkward, even though he was saying what everyone was thinking. I felt a bit like a middle school teacher trying to get everyone back on track. Unfortunately, after the incident, I think Squeaky Will may have felt that he was being picked on because he rarely comes to meetings anymore. The meetings are quote unquote mandatory, but we are pretty lenient about enforcing them because one, we haven't had any issues with absence, and two, a lot of our people spend times in other offices, and we don't always expect people to plan their travel around a weekly meeting. So it is normal to miss a few here and there. He comes to the meetings about once a month. He is always late, but at least he enters the room quietly and doesn't interrupt people anymore. So it seems like it just took some embarrassment to fix this issue. I don't really feel that the issue was resolved because I don't think that Squeaky Will understands that he was behaving inappropriately. I really think that a one-on-one conversation would be the only way to get that point across. But the ship has sailed for the time being. Your advice did help though. Um to help me lead the meetings and keep everything on track and moving along, which I'm very thankful for. Hey, good for her. Let's read some of the comments. He understands. His ego imploded after his foolishness caught up to him. This is tail between the legs behavior. And I know that AAM does a lot. Oh, was that a Enderman? No, I think we're good. I know that AAM does a lot of absurd phrasing to anonymous industries, but hokey poking a meeting agenda is my new favorite. And one more comment. Feels like the first one of these in a while where the update wasn't. The problem is still happening, but I don't care because I got a new job. Nice. Yeah, this one actually, they didn't have to go to another job to fix the quote unquote issue. But yeah, let's move on to the next story and hopefully this law does not kill me. Okay, now let's get this next story. OP's sister-in-law makes racist comments. Let's see. For context, I've been married to my wife for about 10 years, and we're a mixed race couple. I'm Asian and she's Caucasian. I've gotten along with her family, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, but I always felt like her father-in-law and other sister-in-law never liked me. I'm a professionally trained chef with 15 plus years of experience, and I work at high-end Chinese restaurant in a large US city. My crew and I have won several awards, and I've been explicitly told I'd be the next executive chef. Sarah is also a professionally trained chef and works at a popular upscale French restaurant in the city. She constantly brags about it and no joke, compares herself out loud to Ramsay. Damn, that's a pretty high view of yourself. But maybe she can back it up. Let's see. Whenever I'm at my mother-in-law's and father-in-law's house and helping out in the kitchen, Sarah, the other sister-in-law, is always criticizing everything I do, whether it's chopping, braising, marinating, etc. She always butts in with the comments like, I think you should actually do X like this. I've been patient for my wife and sidestepping these comments, saying things like, Thanks, but I think I'll stick to the way I do it. Things came to a head 2 weeks ago when my wife, father in law, mother in law, and I were in her parents' kitchen prepping dinner for my mother in law's birthday. We were running a bit behind, so things got heated, which I kind of liked because it reminded me of work. And that's when Sarah walked in. She took one look at what I was doing, scoffed, and said something like, "Oh wow, okay, so that's not the right way of doing things." It hit a nerve, and I pretty sternly told her to stop criticizing my cooking and that I'm also a chef like her. She laughed and said, "Making kung pao chicken at some Chinese restaurant doesn't count." Damn, you got played right there. The kitchen. Oh, was that zombie? I think we're good. Just keep digging. The kitchen went silent. Father in law snorted, chuckled, and my mother in law yelled, "Sarah, what is wrong with you?" I stopped what I was doing, swore at her, and called her a racist piece of poop. I apologized to my mother in law for not being able to stay and left for home with my wife. Apparently, this caused a massive fight after we left, with my mother in law, brother in law, and other sister in law taking my side, and my father in law slash Sarah saying it was a joke but kind of true, and that I was being too sensitive. The extended family somehow got wind of this, and now everyone is arguing and taking sides. With my wife even getting texts from some of her cousins apologizing for Sarah's behavior. Despite being on my side, my wife is begging me to apologize so that fighting will stop, but I refuse to because F Sarah and her blatant racism. I mean, this is kind of a hard one, but if she said it in a joking manner, I think it was just a joke, but by the way sh- the poster is describing it, she's always hating on her for no reason. It was like a one time thing, it's partly a joke, but the way that she kept criticizing her and her just like sidestepping the roast, I felt like, yeah, at that point you're just doing it just because you don't like the person or you don't know how to talk to them. But let's see. Let's see if there's an update. And there is. Update 1. My wife has also informed me now that Sarah may be in trouble at work and she's blaming me for it. Apparently, one of her coworkers heard her rant about what happened and reported it to management. To clarify, Sarah's blaming me, though my wife is partially blaming me. Okay. Update 2. So it looks like one of my wife's cousins found this post and put it on Sarah's Facebook wall, going, "This is you, right?" That's crazy. Her Facebook friends are starting to comment with things like, "If this is you, Sarah, then I'm disappointed. I think Sarah's still at work. She might be hitting the fan soon, and now my wife is pissed too. We'll try to update, but might have to delete if things go nuclear." Oh, okay, so this is getting a lot bigger than I was expecting. Update number 2 or 3. Was considering removing this, but I just got a voicemail from my father-in-law that my presence was only being tolerated up until this point. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, at this point it's just racism. And threatened a word of hurt if I didn't delete this post. Officially going to keep this post up, and if you're still reading this, Doug, I'm very disappointed in you. You're better than this. Yeah, Doug. Why would you do this? We'll also continue to update, and thanks again for all the support. Okay. Oh, another update. My wife. Oh, just before we read this update, Doug, come on, man. You're better than this. Alright, let's read. Continue with the update. My wife got a call from sister in law. From wife's paraphrasing, Sarah started screaming slash crying. I heard the moment my wife picked up and said that she was gonna get demoted because of her Asian slur husband. Apparently, some of her coworkers have her on Facebook and showed the post to management, which combined with her earlier rant, double whammied her back to being a line cook, and now she might get fired. My wife told her to go F herself and is now on my side after talking the verbal abuse from Sarah and reading some of the comments here. My wife is still the opposite of happy though. 2. Wife called mother-in-law and asked her WTF was going on with father-in-law. Mother-in-law was confused, so my wife played back the voicemail I had on my phone, and apparently my mother-in-law walked away from the phone without hanging up and started screaming at father-in-law. 3. Facebook post has now dissolved into a cluster F flame war with family and friends jumping in. Suffice to say, it has gone nuclear. I think I'm going to have to call it this a day. I will make an update post when the dust settles. Thanks again, folks. New update. Suffice to say, I've been kind of nuts this past week. My wife and I had to turn off social media for a bit because of the shitstorm caused by their cousin putting my last post on Sarah's Facebook page. Some people even try to call the restaurant I work at to get me fired as retribution. But luckily enough, they are 100% on my side. F those racists, F them so much. I guess it doesn't help them that half the calls involve threats, screaming, and more racial slurs. We didn't hear any updates from her family, even though we assumed that poop hit the fan after mother-in-law found out about father-in-law's threatening voicemail. Still disappointing you, Doug. But that changed on Sunday night when mother-in-law suddenly showed up at our door with overnight bags. After we took a moment to help unpack and calm down, she spilled the beans on everything. Oh, nice. We're gonna get some backstory now on Doug. So, father-in-law, aka Doug. Apparently, my mother-in-law and father-in-law were already having trouble in their marriage, and it was only made worse with a certain 2016 presidential election. She's a Dem, and he had apparently gone more far right since then. Seems that a line was crossed with the Kung Pao incident and his voicemail. When he refused to apologize for anything, typical Doug, she asked for a divorce and he went berserk. She didn't feel safe there, so that's when she came over. Other brother-in-law, sister-in-law live out of town. Okay? Extended family. You may have been able to tell already, but the extended family was largely arguing, fighting, and divided along political lines for a few years now, and my cousin's Facebook post was likely just a light to set off the powder keg. According to my mother-in-law, the fallout has already led to some breakups, excommunication of some family members, and even an argument that ended with police involvement. Haven't verified this myself though. Okay, and now some backstory into sister-in-law, aka Sarah. According to mother-in-law, Sarah never came to her place on Friday. The writing was on the wall, and she was basically forced to quit. Despite her trying to start from scratch as line cook, the entire staff turned against her. Nothing was coming back from the dish pit for her, and she was just getting the cold shoulder. She's a great chef, I will admit that is true, but they took no chances since it turns out they're partly owned by a Chinese investment company. Damn, what are the chances? Found this hard to believe and didn't want to add this detail, but it turned out to be true after some research. Word also got around in the local industry, and Sarah is essentially blacklisted from high-end establishments. She's not considering selling her home and moving to find work. As much as I don't like her and found her behavior horrifying, I didn't intend for this to happen, so I reached out to some buds in other states to see if they had any openings. Whether or not she wants to take this up to her, that's up to her, but I still want her to be a decent person to her. I'm sure I still don't feel like a happy ending. Perhaps bittersweet justice, but that's all I can give you. Thank you for all the support in your reading. That got a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. And that's not good. And that's not bad either, but it sucks. how, what, does it suck? Yeah, it does. They were just being racist. At the beginning, I thought they were just making a joke, but after that threatening voicemail, I feel like that just confirmed it for me. But let's read some of the comments. First comment, of course, we're all disappointed in you, Doug. Second comment, I remember reading this when it first came out and reading it update by update, and honestly, F those racist. And last comment, first of all, Doug is very clearly not better than this. I don't know. We gotta see where Doug is. We gotta see an update on Doug. I feel like he was the star of the show. But nice. Let's move on to our next story, guys. I, 24 female, think I'm being stalked, and I can't tell by how many people. Okay, and this was recent. This was last month. Reposted to break up text wall. Burner account. Obviously, I know the title sounds paranoid. But please bear with me. I work full time at a public university in the U.S. as a office manager, and am enrolled in grad school at the same institution. I graduate this May. That was my cat. No worries, guys. I have in-person night classes 3 days a week that start right after I get off work. My apartment is on the first floor of a complex about 10 minutes away. Over the past few months, I've had numerous bizarre occurrences around my home and workplaces. Let's see. The first, to my knowledge, was in September, and was something my neighbor across the hall, very sweet older woman, told me. A man was banging on my door for around an hour just after midnight. I was not home. My neighbor later told me she poked her head out to ask him what was going on, and he said he was a DoorDasher, but no food or bags in his hand apparently. My neighbor watched him through the peephole and told me he tried the doorknob multiple times. No ring cameras or anything, so no footage. Damn, that would have been so good. As far as I know, he didn't come back. But I've also had 3 or 4 instances over this several month period where someone knocked on my bedroom window, blackout curtains always closed, late at night, loud enough to wake me and my tiny dog. Never saw who it was. In October, a woman came to my sliding door window about a month later demanding to come in because her stolen quote-unquote device had apparently been pinging my apartment. When I refused, she called the sheriff's department. The deputy who came asked me a couple questions and left, but did confirm that a device was pinging my apartment. Never found out if she meant a phone or what. The woman hung out in the parking lot before leaving a few minutes later. Obviously, I've never stolen any phone, so I was completely bewildered. Never saw her again. In December, things came to a head when I found a plug-in GPS tracker in the OBD, aka the onboard diagnostic port, under my dashboard. That's crazy. Car dealership where it got service last said they didn't use the brand Land Air C, and yes, I have the model and serial number, and didn't perform any services that would have warranted putting it in there. I called the cops and they just wrote down a few details and left. University police were also informed since the tracker was probably placed either on campus or at my apartment. The tracker was the biggest red flag. I never checked my OBD port, so I have no idea how long it was there. I told my unit director, and he offered to subtly remove mentions of me around the office and on the website, which I accepted. I am, however, posted up on the office front desk for like 90% of my day. This past Tuesday, right before I left for lunch, a middle-aged man came into the office wearing a hairnet, surgical mask, hoodie, and sunglasses. He claimed to be a prospective student and had questions about FAFSA. That is pretty creepy. He was extremely hard to understand. I directed him to the financial aid office across campus, and he kept asking questions that our office cannot answer. Yeah, it has to be him. Who is wearing a hairnet, a mask, hoodie, and sunglasses, bro? That's not even a good combo. I thought, sure, fine, maybe harmless and just not out there mentally. He walks over to our coffee machine, not for community use, by the way, but I didn't want to be a bee, and just starts making coffee. He's still there when I leave, and one of my staff watches the desk while I'm out. When I return from lunch, he's gone, but walks in after me a few minutes later and just sits in the lobby on his phone before getting up to leave almost immediately. Ah, keep an eye on this dude. I was off work Wednesday and Thursday, so I came in Friday. I felt like giving my mostly undergrad staff a break, so I gave them permission to head home early, leaving me alone in the office. The man came back wearing the exact same clothes, mask, hairnet, and sunglasses within 5 minutes of the office clearing out. Oh no. Our office is technically open to the public, but isn't really public facing, and he had no reason for being there, especially that late in the day. He came in, barely acknowledged me, and said he was going to bring over bottled water for our coffee machine. He left again. I'm very creeped out by this, so I messaged my director, who's working remotely, and he got an IT guy from the next building to come over with his laptop to keep me company. I explained the situation, and he said he'll stay with me till close. He settles in my director's office, just around the corner, but it still looked like I was alone. The man does come back without water and leans against the desk, trying to start a conversation with me. Oh, does he have wrist? Let's see. IT guy comes around the corner and stands between me and him, and he quickly changes the subject and asks about financial aid again, for the fourth time in the many days, before being directed away and leaving immediately. Dude, good thing the IT guy was there, bro. Dude, these stairs are long. Hey, we see there though, we're almost there. And nice. I'm strongly considering informing campus police about this. Like I said, they already know about the tracker. I've had problems in the past during my undergrad years at a different institution with men and a woman being creepy towards me, but nothing to this level. I have no idea what to do. I can't tell what's isolated and what's connected. My family lives an hour away and has been no help at all. I have a sinking feeling that things are going to escalate. Any advice on what I should do or change at home, work, or elsewhere is appreciated. I'm open to further questions. Yeah, first thing first, get a camera, get a Ring camera. You also get a camera for work. Let everyone know. Try to also, I don't know what else you can do at this situation because he does know where you work. So even if you don't go to work, he'll either see you at work or if he sees you're not there, he'll go to your place. But at least you will have these cameras. You can have better ways to like document everything. But let's see if there's any update. And there's 2 weeks later. Hey everyone, I'm alive and well, but not exactly relieved. I got a lot of great advice on my first post and wanted to let you know what has all happened and what I've done. It's been a lot. The two incidents that I and most everyone else were concerned about were the tracker and the office visitor. First off, the owner of the tracker in my house and my car has been identified and is totally harmless. I called Land RC and they told me that it was in fact the car dealership's device that somehow kept getting unplugged and plugged back in. I guess they assumed it was mine every time it was serviced. When I initially called them in December, the dealerships were up and down, it wasn't theirs. So I'm really irritated that they were adamant in their denial. The Land Air C rep I spoke to was very understanding as to why this would be concerning and even said he was surprised the police didn't subpoena the company when I reported it. Regardless, that at least crosses the tracker off the list of issues. Where is that zombie at? As for the office visitor, ooh, I can't wait. It's unfortunately an ongoing concern that has escalated. I called campus police last Monday and they explained that my director had reported the guy to them already the day before I made my first post. Oh, okay, nice. Two shot. Police didn't tell me much aside from the fact that his behavior seemed extremely unusual and that he disappeared once officers arrived to the building. They gave me the usual spiel about how I should call for a police escort if I feel unsafe. I had to get the rest from my director and one from my staff. Apparently this guy had not only been hanging out around the building, but had been lingering for such a long time on the bench just outside my office at various points throughout the week, including when I was there. I also cleaned out that coffee machine thoroughly and put it in the back room. Doesn't really look like he messed with it. Hey, but you never know. He came back Friday at almost exactly the same time as the previous week. By a stroke of sheer luck, I was already in the back conference room before he saw me. I snapped the attached pic of him speaking to a male staff member at the desk and quietly locked myself in my director's office. Oh, did you take a picture? Okay, we'll see it once I find it. But let's keep reading the story. I called campus PD and texted my director. I could hear the man and my staff talking briefly and the guy left immediately. He didn't linger like he does with me at the desk. Both the arriving office and the division leader arrived quickly and knocked on the door, obviously concerned. The officer communicated to me that he would be found and trespassed. He has not shown up in our public trespass warning records, so I guess that went nowhere. That was the end of it though. This Monday, we were expecting severe weather, so campus was closed and remote work was permitted. My director, however, decided to work from the office. He saw the man again, but this time he was accompanied accompanied by 4 or 5 other men in the halls. What? My director is a very large man, so they scattered quickly when he barked at them to leave. He told me that all this in my one-on-ones with him on Tuesday morning. I still feel extremely uneasy about this apparent fixation on me, and at the very least, my office, and that he returned several times in alignment with my schedule. I've been having my boyfriend escort me to and from night classes and my office, and will leverage a police or male staff escort if he is ever unavailable. No activity from this man since Tuesday. Since making my first post, I did some work back at my apartment as well. I asked the management office if my unit or building had a history of drug, crime, or any other reason it would be a point of interest. The manager is a different one from when I signed my lease back in May, and she found no notes about crime or suspicious activities in that unit. I did remember that I sometimes get mailed addressed to someone who I presume is a previous occupant, but nothing in my repertoire came back with anything suspicious for his name. I've also purchased some pepper spray, nice. Set up a ring camera, better, nice. And should be receiving a stun gun and window cams from Amazon soon. Planning a range date with my boyfriend to put a couple hundred rounds through my clock as well. Hey, you never know. But yeah, that's the less than comforting update to this whole situation. At least the tracker's out of the way, but I'm still so on edge with this guy and apparently the group he is/was in. I'm worried about what would happen if I run into him again, let alone the whole group. I don't know what else to do besides literally never be alone ever. That sucks. I don't know. Is there like nothing you can do unless it's kind of sucks like most laws for stalkers can't really do anything unless they actually act on it. But let's see if there's any updates. If not, we can read some of the comments. And yeah, that's how this one ends. Let's read some of the comments. Hopefully there's an update soon, because this just happened last month. At the least, OP's director should implement and post an immediate sign for sunglasses to be removed and hoodies to be down like they do at banks and dispensaries. Yeah, that's a very good point. Next comment. Hope the OP is okay, but I would love to hear who that man in the hoodie actually is and why he bought a gag of men with him that one time. That is pretty weird. Part of his Discord friends, if I'm being honest with you. And let's read another comment. I actually know what was up with the my phone is pinging from inside your house lady. That one is a scam. I've seen more than one person encounter. They're trying to encase the house to rob it. Hence her calling a deputy who confirmed the story. Because the OP called the cops, the gig is up. The rest of that doesn't fit the scam I've heard of. Oh, bro, that took no damage. But thanks so much for watching the video, guys. I want to put a picture of my representation of what I talked about at the beginning of the video. About that co-worker who just jumped over a lift to get to another lift just because he was stuck. But thanks for watching once again, guys, and I hope you guys watch the next video. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.